Hello everyone, we're on to our last topic from our review. In this topic we're going to be looking at sine and cosine. We're given sine and cosine and we have to use the Pythagorean identity to find either sine, cosine, or tangent. Okay. With that, what's going to happen is, if you guys recall our Pythagorean identity, what we did is we knew that we were going to have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We've been using that for the Pythagorean theorem. Then we went through and we took our unit circle and we went through and we drew triangles throughout, and we used this theorem to find missing sides. Then we discovered that on the unit circle, what makes it a unit circle is our radius is 1, and our x value is going to be cosine, and our y value is going to be sine. So this is going to be cosine of theta and sine of theta. And what we did is essentially we plugged in our values x, y, and 1. And this is how we started to write things. X squared plus y squared equals 1 squared. And then when we determined that cosine and sine were x and y respectively inside of the unit circle, we found that we had cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1. Or 1 squared if you still want to have all the squares and everything. So with that, this is going to be referred to as our Pythagorean identity. And we're going to use it to find values of sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, so with this, let's go ahead and take a look. Write the xy coordinates for p in terms of cosine and sine. Write the xy coordinates for p in terms of cosine and sine. So if you guys are taking a look at this, we have our point P here, and we know that our x coordinate is going to be positive, and we know our y value is going to be negative. Okay, so it's going to be positive and negative. We know this is our x and our y, and it says write it in terms of cosine and sine. So we know x is cosine of theta and y is sine of theta. Okay, and that's going to give us our coordinate P. With that, that's our first answer right here. For our next part, we're given cosine, and we have to use it to find our sine. So once again, our cosine here is going to be referred to as our x value once again. This is our x value. So we know that this is going to be 0.6, and we know this is a right triangle, and we have to find all of our missing pieces. But here's the thing. Tangent in the unit circle, if this is a unit circle problem, we know that that's going to be 1. And we're able to go through and find all of our missing values just using this information. So if we go through, we're going to use what's called the Pythagorean identity. Cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1. When we do this, we simply just have to substitute 0.6 for cosine. So we're going to have 0.6 quantity squared plus sine squared equals 1. And what we're going to do is simply just take 0.6 times 0.6, which is going to give us 0.36 plus sine squared theta equals 1. Okay? And from here, what's going to happen is we're going to go ahead and subtract 0.36 from each side. Subtract 0.36 from each side. And we're going to get sine squared theta equals 0.64. But we don't want to have sine squared. We just want to have sine. So how are we going to get rid of that square? Well, what we have to do is take the square root of each side. And we're going to find that we have sine of theta equals, and whenever you guys take a square root, how many answers should you get? You should get 2. You should get a positive, and you should get a negative. So in this case, we're going to get 0.8, plus or minus 0.8. Now, what determines that sign is what quadrant we're in. If we're taking a look back here, we're going to go ahead and see that we're trying to find our y value, our sine, which in this case is going to be negative because it's in the fourth quadrant. So once we determine that it's going to be negative, we're able to just write our negative sign for here, and we're done. Thank you guys very much, and you have